Whoa, 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 guys. Just take it easy, take a deep breath. I know Indy moved to China and Bobby Worrest switched to venture, but that doesn't mean that all of you guys have to right now too. So there's some things we have to figure out first. So in order to actually make the switch from something as good as independent, we need to know, are ventures comparable in pop feel and turning? Because if they're not, you're probably going to be pretty disappointed jumping to them because they're pretty different. So that's the first thing we need to determine, is how do these trucks feel? And then at that point, knowing that you can still skate riding a Made in America truck again, can you truly jump on the protectionist bandwagon? So what I have here are the new Venture High 5.6s. So this is an 8 1/4 truck, and it's taken Venture a long time to put out an 8 1/4 high truck. Not that they had an 8 1/4 low one, they just didn't have an 8 1/4 truck. So these are the raw polished, just the standards. There's nothing fancy about them. These weigh 370 grams, which is the same as an Indy Stage 11 8-inch. So we got 1/4 inch more truck at the same weight as an 8-inch truck. So there's one thing right off the bat. Although we're only talking like a 10-gram difference per truck if you wanted to go to Indy 144s, so don't be a baby. So first things first, how is the turning? The turning is pretty adequate, as you can see. Not like I'm struggling carving around in this bowl, but they definitely don't have quite as surfy and turny a carve as Indies. So Indies get more turn with the lean, whereas these have a bit more lean and slightly less turn. However, the fact that these are a tall truck at 53.5 millimeters means that I'm easily skating these with 53 millimeter wheels and not getting any wheel bite and still able to get a pretty nice deep carve. And as you can see, I have them pretty loose, like it can't get any looser. I can't loosen it anymore or the nut will fall off. I put some wax in the pivot cups because those were really squeaky at first. They're doing good now and they turn a little bit better because of it. Also, this deck I'm riding is a 14-inch wheelbase, and having a short wheelbase tightens up your turn. So if I had this on say a 14.5-inch wheelbase, I might have noticed poor turning right away. So that's one thing to consider. If you like a smaller wheelbase, then the turning isn't going to bother you as much right off the bat. You'll get used to it in a few days. You know, again, don't be a baby. Next, how is the pop feel? So the pop feel is a little bit heftier than Indies. The best way to describe the difference between trucks is, okay, so Indies have what I would call a soft pop, meaning the board feels kind of light and easy when you're popping your tricks. Whereas something like Thunder's has a much wider wheelbase, so it moves your wheels out further, which makes it feel heavier or a harder pop. You have to kick down harder. Ventures also have a harder pop, so they're moved out and they're taller. So if you're riding this on a really steep deck or a super wide wheelbase, then you might be getting a lot of ghost pop, which is when your tail isn't hitting the ground and you're going to be struggling to do a lot of your tricks and just kind of flailing about. But once again, this short wheelbase deck is kind of coming to the rescue, because when you have a short wheelbase deck and a truck that goes out more, they balance each other out. So the pop on this is actually really nice. In fact, a deck like this might feel almost too soft with Indies. Next, let's get into one of my favorite features of these trucks, and that is really good smith grindability. They seem to have quite a low kingpin. Now, I think that having such a low kingpin and a wide wheelbase is part of what makes these trucks less carvy than Indies, but it does make for awesome smith grinds. Great clearance. More clearance than I need on my backside smiths, I'll tell you that much. Another nice feature of these trucks is that the base plate sticks out a little bit more than Thunder's. So it's not quite as good as an Indy, but better than a Thunder, and I get less wheels dragging on the edge of the ledge as I'm doing my slides. However, if you have a super square, chunky ledge, then it's going to be worse. what about good old transition, you guys? Well, I actually really enjoyed these trucks on transition. I found that now that these are 8 1/4 instead of 8-inch, they are not so tippy feeling and they're nice and stable. I get a good crossover pinch on my grinds. You know when the coping is going like from that wheel to that wheel and it's all radness. The metal grinds a little bit, I would say, harder than Indies or Thunders. So they feel just the tiniest bit harder. And what I notice is that on hard to grind materials, it tends to dig in a little more and I slow down. Okay, I'm really bored of talking. Here's a bunch more skating. I'm gonna settle for those, you guys, because you know what? That's by far the hardest and scariest trick in this video. For me. Never settle for less, guys. I told myself I was settling for those other ones, but I couldn't. Check out the sweet new grind mark. Frontside 180 grind mark. Canceling out my crooked grind mark. Pretty stoked. In summary, I think these are a really good truck. I would definitely ride them as long as I have the right board. So, am I going to give up riding Indies now because of these? No. I've got 3 pairs of Indies that have been made in China. They're perfectly good trucks from my point of view. Yes, I would actually prefer, personally, for my trucks to be made in North America. However, I can't find any fault in the 3 Indies I own, and I'm gonna ride them until they're dead. But I am stoked to have these trucks in my arsenal because it's like, to me, trucks are like a tool. So when I have a deck that's too flat, these trucks are gonna come in really handy. Because they're tall, because they have that heftier pop feel, it's gonna go real nicely on a flat deck. So in order for me to answer the question as to should you switch to Ventures, well, first off, how much do you care that Indies are made in China? Second, you have to know that these aren't just a truck for truck replacement. Like, they're a different truck with different features. So you can't just ride the exact same deck you were riding on Indies and jump on Ventures and expect these to feel good. You may have to change what deck you ride if you want to actually get onto these trucks and get the benefits from them. And as for whether or not you should switch or why Bobby Worrest switched, I don't know, you guys. That's not my job to tell you. It's just my job to tell you what these trucks are like. And that's what I did. So now, if you couldn't tell, because I'm looking at the camera and talking like this, the video's over. So go do some skating. And I've probably been squinting hard at you this whole video. You can't even see my eyes. Because it's so bright. Okay, guys, go skate. I want to stop looking at that and that. All right? It's time. Do some radness. Go try a trick you haven't tried before.